This is a separator for the oil industry. It weighs 101 tons, is 12 meters long, 4 meters wide and 6 meters tall. Due to a tight time schedule for delivery, it has to be transported from the factory in Kristiansund to Busan in South Korea within 4 days. To make this possible, it will be transported by the world's largest serial-produced aircraft, an Antonov 124. The runway at Kristiansund Airport is too short for the giant aircraft. Therefore, the separator will have to be transported to Bergen Airport. It will be loaded on a trailer and transported by a chartered vessel to Krokeide Ferryport in Bergen. From there, it will be transported on the trailer to Bergen Airport overnight. At the airport, the separator will be loaded into the Antonov 124, which will fly to its final destination. The company which provided the best logistics solution and is responsible for this demanding transport is the world's leading logistics company, Kuehne + Nagel. To be able to offer this particular demanding transport, Kuehne + Nagel has engaged Russland International. Russland International is a joint venture of Antonov Airlines and Volga Dnepr Airlines. At the factory in Kristiansund, they are now preparing to lift the separator onto the trailer. Due to the large dimensions of the separator and its height of over 6 meters, it would normally exceed the aircraft's main cabin height of 4.4 meters. To make the transport possible, Russland International's load planners had to design 2 specially constructed support frames that enable balanced weight distribution and would support the load after rotating it 90 degrees. This way, the separator will fit inside the aircraft, with a margin of 6.5 centimeters on one side and 9.5 centimeters in height. The load planning manager responsible for the design, Dmytro Kirko, is paying close attention as the workers place the frames with millimeter precision. When the separator is safely placed onto the frames on the trailer, it is transported to the dock, 80 meters away, where the vessel is waiting. To get the heavy separator on board is no easy task. It needs to go over the wharf side and onto the boat, and as the weight is transferred to the boat, it loses height to the wharf side. However, all parameters are precisely planned, and the experienced driver and his crew maneuver the large piece safely on board. The next day, the separator arrives at Krokeide Ferryport in Bergen. Closely timed, it is transported to land in between 2 ferry departures. It is close to midnight when the final stage of the transport to the airport will commence. Due to the large dimensions of the load, the roads to the airport have to be closed off. Kuehne + Nagel has carefully planned each stage of the transport, and the route to the airport has been closely measured in advance to make sure that the trailer and the load has enough clearance along its entire route. Several road signs have already been removed, and personnel from the Road Administration Department are accompanying the load to remove possible obstacles along the way. Simultaneously, the Antonov 124 arrives at Bergen Airport. With a wingspan of 73 meters and a length of 69 meters, this giant is the world's largest serial-produced aircraft. It has been used to carry a wide variety of loads, including railway locomotives, ocean yachts, Boeing 777 engines, and the occasional elephant. The cargo compartment measures 36.5 meters in length, 6.4 meters in width, and 4.4 meters in height. The maximum payload is 120 tons. The total distance to the airport is 16 kilometers, with 10 kilometers being on narrow, twisting roads. The trailer has to pass several pedestrian bridges along the way, and at one point, the separator only has millimeters of clearance. The separator arrives at the airport according to schedule. It will be parked here until loading commences the next day. It is early next morning at Bergen Airport, and the Antonov loading crew are starting the preparations for loading. The aircraft has both nose and tail cargo doors, and the separator will be loaded through the front of the aircraft. The nose is lifted. The aircraft kneels all the way down to the ground, and the loading ramp unfolds. An additional loading ramp of 5 tons, which will be used to slide the separator into the aircraft, is being built. Dmytro is continuously checking that the placement goes according to the careful calculations which have already been made. It is now minutes before the loading commences. 2 huge cranes are in place to lift the separator onto the loading ramp. Straps and loading equipment have huge dimensions to support the weight of the heavy load. The separator with the 2 frames are slowly lifted up into the air. It needs to be turned sideways and placed gently and accurately on the loading ramp. As there are only centimeters clearance, complete precision is vital. The planning of the entire transport and exchange of technical information has been dependent on a long and thorough collaboration between the supplier, the airline Ruslan International, and Kuehne + Nagel. This separator will be the largest and heaviest item ever loaded on an aircraft at Bergen Airport. The total weight of the load, including the separator, the 2 support frames, and the loading equipment, is 114 tons, which is close to the giant aircraft's capacity for the route flown. Therefore, a second aircraft, an Antonov 12, has been booked to transport the loading ramp of 5 tons to the destination in Korea, where it will be used for unloading. The Antonov 12 arrives at Bergen Airport, while the loading of the Antonov 124 is taking place. To make the separator fit inside the cargo compartment and equally distribute the load's weight, 2 specially designed frames were made, which required special approval from the aircraft's designers, Antonov Design Bureau. All parameters are carefully calculated, and nothing is left to chance. With utmost precision, the separator starts slowly sliding into the aircraft. Well inside the aircraft, the loading crew starts securing the cargo. So far, the thorough planning has resulted in a well-accomplished transport mission. The loading compartment is closed, and a spectacular transport is in its last phase. The flight to Busan can begin when the weather conditions for flying are approved. Early the next morning, the weather and wind conditions are perfect. The crew are doing their last preparations before they taxi onto the runway after the signal from the control tower. The Antonov 124 aircraft is flying from Bergen to Busan via Helsinki, Novosibirsk, Russia, and Tianjin, China. The flight was one of a series required for the same project. This highly unusual cargo once again proved the exceptional capabilities of the Antonov 124, as well as the value of Kuehne + Nagel and Ruslan International as providers of viable solutions for seemingly impossible loads.